Welcome to War Bios, where we delve into the most pivotal battles in history, and today we're going to explore one of the most fascinating and complex conflicts of the American Civil War, the Battle of Chancellorsville. This battle, fought in May 1863, was a masterclass in tactical innovation, strategic maneuvering, and the human cost of war. It's a story of brilliant commanders, daring flanking maneuvers, and the brutal realities of combat that will leave you questioning the very nature of leadership in warfare. The Confederate Army of Northern Virginia, led by the indefatigable General Robert E. Lee, had just emerged from a decisive victory at the Battle of Fredericksburg, where they had repelled a series of ill-fated Union assaults. Despite this triumph, Lee's army was stretched thin, with barely 60,000 soldiers to defend the Rappahannock River line against Hooker's force of over 130,000. Meanwhile, Hooker was determined to outmaneuver Lee and capture the strategic town of Richmond, the Confederate capital. He spent the winter months reorganizing his army, implementing reforms, and planning a new campaign that would ultimately lead him to Chancellorsville. As Hooker began to mobilize his forces in late April 1863, he faced a daunting challenge: how to break through Lee's defenses and gain a decisive advantage. The Union commander decided to split his army, leaving a sizable force under General John Sedgwick to demonstrate against Lee's positions near Fredericksburg, while the main body of the army, led by Hooker himself, would march westward, aiming to turn Lee's right flank and catch him off guard. The players were in position: Hooker, with his bold plan and reinvigorated army; Lee, with his cunning strategic mind and battle-hardened troops; and the landscape itself, a maze of forests, rivers, and hills that would soon become a killing ground. As we move closer to the opening salvos of Chancellorsville, it's essential to understand the complex web of relationships between the key commanders. The stakes were high, and the consequences of failure would be catastrophic. In the days leading up to the battle, Hooker's army began its westward march, navigating treacherous terrain and facing numerous logistical challenges. The Union cavalry, led by General George Stoneman, was tasked with screening the advance and gathering vital intelligence on Confederate dispositions. Meanwhile, Lee, aware of the growing threat to his right flank, started to shift his forces, pulling troops from the Fredericksburg area to confront the emerging Union menace. As the Union Army continued its westward march, Hooker's forces began to converge on the crossroads village of Chancellorsville, a small clearing surrounded by dense forests and rugged terrain. On April 30th, 1863, the vanguard of Hooker's army, led by General George Meade's V Corps, reached the outskirts of Chancellorsville, where they encountered scattered Confederate patrols. The Union troops quickly secured the village, and Hooker established his headquarters at the Chancellor House, a large, imposing structure that would serve as the nerve center for the Union Army. Meanwhile, Lee, aware of the growing threat to his right flank, began to shift his forces, pulling troops from the Fredericksburg area to confront the emerging Union menace. On May 1, 1863, Lee ordered General Stonewall Jackson's corps to march westward, aiming to intercept Hooker's army and prevent them from turning the Confederate right flank. As Jackson's troops marched through the dense forests, they encountered numerous logistical challenges, including treacherous terrain and inadequate roads. On May 2, 1863, Jackson's corps reached the vicinity of Chancellorsville, where they launched a surprise attack on Hooker's right flank, catching the Union troops off guard. The Confederate assault was led by General Robert Rodes's division, which smashed into the Union lines with devastating effect. The Union troops, taken aback by the ferocity of the attack, stumbled backward in disarray, leaving behind large numbers of casualties and prisoners. As the battle raged on, Hooker's army began to falter, its lines wavering under the relentless Confederate pressure. On May 3, 1863, Jackson's corps launched a series of coordinated attacks, aiming to shatter the Union center and gain a decisive victory. The fighting was intense and chaotic, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. At one point, General Meade's V Corps was forced to retreat, leaving behind several artillery pieces and large numbers of wounded troops. Despite being outnumbered, Lee's army fought with remarkable tenacity, driven by Jackson's unyielding leadership and the knowledge that they were fighting on their home turf. As the battle reached its climax, Lee himself rode onto the battlefield, his presence a testament to his unwavering confidence in his troops. As the sun began to set on May 3, 1863, the Union Army was in full retreat, its lines shattered and its morale broken. Hooker's forces stumbled backward through the dense forests, pursued by Jackson's triumphant troops. The Confederate victory at Chancellorsville was all but assured, and Lee's reputation as a brilliant strategist was cemented forever. In the aftermath of the battle, Hooker's army regrouped, its shattered remnants reeling from the shock of defeat. The Union commander himself was left to ponder the consequences of his failed strategy, his leadership abilities questioned by his subordinates and superiors alike. As for Lee, he had won a great victory, but at a terrible cost. Jackson, his trusted lieutenant, had been wounded in the battle and would soon succumb to his injuries. As the Union army retreated from Chancellorsville, Lee's forces pursued them, but the Confederate victory was tempered by the loss of Stonewall Jackson, who died on May 10, 1863, due to complications from his wounds. This devastating blow would be felt throughout the remainder of the war, as Jackson's tactical genius and unwavering dedication had been instrumental in many of Lee's successes. In the aftermath of Chancellorsville, Hooker's army regrouped behind the Rappahannock River, its morale battered but still intact. However, the Union commander's own reputation had taken a severe hit, and he would soon be replaced by General George Meade, who would go on to lead the Army of the Potomac to victory at Gettysburg. Although Lee had won a great tactical victory, his decision to divide his forces and launch a flanking maneuver had left him vulnerable to a potential Union counterattack. This miscalculation would ultimately prove costly, as Meade's army was able to capitalize on Lee's mistakes and secure a decisive victory at Gettysburg. Today, the Battle of Chancellorsville is remembered as one of the most significant battles of the American Civil War, a testament to the tactical brilliance of Robert E. Lee and the unyielding determination of the Confederate Army. As historian James McPherson once observed, Chancellorsville was a battle that showcased the best and worst of Lee's generalship, his boldness and adaptability, but also his tendency to take unnecessary risks and underestimate the strength of his enemy. The legacy of Chancellorsville can be seen in the many monuments and memorials that dot the battlefield, a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by the soldiers who fought and died there. In the end, the Battle of Chancellorsville stands as a testament to the enduring power of courage, sacrifice, and determination, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can persevere and overcome even the most daunting challenges. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.